Keep coming in from all over the globe, confirming it as true. To say that the world is in a state of shock this morning would be to understate the situation. The event seems to have taken place at the same time all over the world just about 25 minutes ago. Suddenly and without warning, literally thousands, perhaps millions of people just disappeared.
Welcome once again to Truth Is Now Treason.
And to our series about end times.
In discussing the end times, the question always arises, what should we do to prepare for these end time events? Should we just hide inside our houses and wait for his return?
Or should we pray that God would end our lives and just take us to heaven now?
Or should we just ignore things that are happening because pastors or church leaders tell us to?
Or maybe we just want to tune it out, get on our phones and escape through social media platforms because it's just all so depressing.
Or do we get angry and revolt and join Antifa? I mean, is this even the end time era? And if so, how long will we even be here?
Well, if you missed our previous 2 episodes, that is what we discussed. We believe, along with David Jeremiah, an expert on this topic, we believe that the church will be raptured. It'll be gone. And right after the rapture occurs, the tribulation period begins. And what happens from here on for the next 7 years will involve anyone left behind.
So last week we ended giving you a teaser about what we would be discussing in this particular episode. The villain. Dun, dun, dun. Now, I love villains in movies or stories, but this is not one that I'm going to love because this is going to be a villain that will truly be a villain. Many will be deceived into liking this person, but it's going to be to their own demise. Others will fear him, and for good reason.
So, as we already said, the rapture has occurred. Once that happens, a series of things will begin. We will initially see a mysterious, charismatic man emerge on the scene that the Bible calls the beast, better known as the Antichrist. Now, this word Antichrist really does mean opposing or against Christ.
So the Antichrist will inaugurate this 7-year tribulation period. Now, this man, he's going to initially be a man of peace. Now, how do we know he's going to bring peace initially? Revelation 6, verses 1 and 2 describes a first seal being opened.
Seals make up the first round of judgments that occur in the tribulation period. Remember, there's going to be 3 rounds of judgments cast during these 7 years, and this particular seal will be the very beginning.
So this first seal describes a rider on a white horse. This rider indicates a conquering victor or leader.
He will be given a crown, which indicates that this person, this rider, will exercise great authority. But it says his bow has no arrows, which means he won't gain this victory through war, but rather through a peaceful means.
So at the kickoff of the tribulation, the villain, the Antichrist, will come under the pretense of bringing peace to the world, especially to Israel. Now, scholars believe that he will bring peace when there's some kind of global unrest and turmoil, kind of like what we're witnessing now in the Middle East between Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah versus Israel.
Something else to point out here is that although he holds a bow with no arrows, this bow shows his true intentions, and he advances as a conqueror bent on conquest. That's what verse 2 says in Revelation 6.
So he will eventually show his true colors, as villains always do, right? And we know through other places in the Bible, particularly the book of Daniel, he reneges on his peace agreement with Israel after 42 months, which is 3.5 years, exactly the halfway mark of the 7-year tribulation period.
Many people have speculated about who the Antichrist could be. I remember back when Obama first came on the scene, people were saying Obama was the Antichrist. No one knows because the Bible doesn't mention who this writer will be. So his identity is unknown. David Jeremiah kind of makes a joke, and I think it's kind of cute. It says, if you seem to know who the Antichrist is, you probably got left behind. Now, we're going to read another passage. We're going to focus on Daniel chapter 7. We're not going to read the whole thing. We want to get a true picture of what this guy will be like.
Daniel is seeing a vision of 4 beasts. Now, he's especially alarmed about the fourth one, and he seeks more clarity about it. Then it is explained that this particular beast represents a specific period in time that will occur on earth at some point. Keep in mind, in Revelation, the word beast always refers to our villain, the Antichrist. But here in Daniel, beast refers to the specific time in history where these bad events will be occurring. The words small horn represent the Antichrist here in this passage, which we're going to read. This is verses 7 and 8.
This is Daniel describing part of his vision. Then in my vision that night, I saw a fourth beast, terrifying, dreadful, and very strong. It devoured and crushed its victims with huge iron teeth and trampled their remains beneath its feet. It was different from any of the other beasts, and it had 10 horns. As I was looking at the horns, suddenly another small horn appeared among them. 3 of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. This little horn had eyes like human eyes and a mouth that was boasting arrogantly. Daniel sees this and says, "Oh my gosh, please explain this because this is terrifying to me and I don't understand this at all." Then his vision is explained and it begins at verse 23 in the same chapter.
And it says this: the fourth beast is the fourth world power that will rule the earth. It will be different from all the others. It will devour the whole world, trampling and crushing everything in its path. Its 10 horns are 10 kings who will rule that empire. Then another king will arise, different from the other 10, who will subdue 3 of them. So let's stop here and we're going to elaborate on these verses.
So first thing it says is a world power that rules the earth. So this indicates some kind of world government. And how do we get that? Well, it goes on to say its 10 horns are 10 kings who will rule this empire. In other words, there's going to be some kind of a 10-leader coalition set up.
I hope they're diverse and not just all white, straight, cisgendered men.
Well, you know that they will push DEI because that's what makes everybody so strong.
Indeed. Thank you.
No, we don't know who these 10 kings will be. They could be regions of the world. Who knows? But while this 10-leader coalition happens, it says another horn or another king, 11th horn, arises. This is our villain, our Antichrist. And 3 horns are plucked out by the roots. Somehow this Antichrist, this person, we know he will be a person because it specifically gives him human characteristics. It says he had human eyes. He will subdue 3 of these kings or these world leaders by plucking them out somehow. They're going to make room for him. And it could be that he takes over 3 kingdoms one by one, but it's not going to be by war. It's rather going to be through political manipulation or maneuvering. It could be deceitful maneuvering. Who knows? But he will do this. He's not going to make a splash, though, when he enters this political stage. This guy won't be obvious at first. He's not going to come running out on the scene and say, "Hey, I'm the Antichrist." But rather, he's going to just arise in what seems to be just a normal, ordinary way. It says that he will be different from the others. That is taken that somehow this villain, who won't act like a villain yet, will seem more important somehow. Whether it will be through his appearance, his looks, where he will be strikingly attractive,
Like me?
or through his flattery and in the way he speaks, like me. Well, what is scary, I think, is how people will love this dude. In Daniel, it says in the same chapter that he will appeal to the crowds. It also states that masses of people will be ready to serve him. People will love this guy. His audience will do anything for him, anything he asks. He's going to be irresistible to the public.
Like me? Well, I'm irresistible to women.
Well, this guy's going to have a magnetic personality and a great speaking ability. And it will make him irresistible to everyone, to the masses.
I'm a little concerned. Everything you're saying describes me.
Are you the Antichrist? I wouldn't want to be the Antichrist because it's not going to end well for this dude.
Yeah, people are going to flock to him like flies on honey. Now, David Jeremiah says it this way in his book called The Book of Signs. So give us a good-looking candidate with a golden voice, a powerful presence, and the ability to enthrall people with vague rhetoric about an undefined future, and those who will be here then will follow like sheep as the media bleat the candidate's praises. Kind of like what we're seeing with Kamala.
I mean, think back in the early 2000s, how fast the media and everyone took to Obama. When he first entered the political scene, he won his state senate, and no one had heard of him before that. He served about 2 years, and then all of a sudden, he is the presidential Democratic nominee, and the media just went crazy. I mean, they didn't pressure him with any hard questions, and they hid his background.
Yeah, like the fact that he launched his campaign in the home of a domestic terrorist. How they refused to report the fact that he attended a church where the pastor was an anti-American, saying things like, not God bless America, but God damn America. He was hiding his possible connections with the Muslim faith, and he won not only 1 term, but 2 as the president. So we're going to play a skit from Saturday Night Live to explain all this. Even Saturday Night Live saw how the public, especially the media, was extremely biased in how they handled Obama versus Hillary during the Democrat primary.
So to set the stage, Saturday Night Live is pretending to be live on CNN interviewing these 2 presidential candidates on the Democratic ticket back in 2008, which happened to be actors just posing as Obama and Hillary.
Now, we're just going to play 35 seconds of this, but if you want to see the entire thing, you can click on the link in our podcast description or look it up on YouTube and watch it. It clearly mocks how the public and media loved Obama, thus ensuing preferential treatment over his opponents, and inserts some humor while doing that.
Like nearly everyone in the news media, the 3 of us are totally in the tank for Senator Obama. We will make every effort tonight to keep this bias hidden, but should it become obvious, please remember, we're only human. I myself have been clinically diagnosed as an Obamaniac, while my associate John King just last week suffered his 3rd Barack attack. As for Jorge Ramos, he is clearly just obsessed with Senator Obama, kind of to an unhealthy degree, really. And, well, I guess you could just call him a stalker. Now let's meet the candidates.
In reality, Obama should have been torn apart if journalists were doing their jobs. But instead, most worshipped him and helped hide his shady past. The same will be true of the Antichrist. So up to this point, traders, the villain really hasn't been a visible villain.
3.5 years into the tribulation point, his true nature will shine through and his true character will be revealed. So in our next episode, we're going to describe for you how nasty this guy really gets.
'Cause I got a crush on Obama, I'll wait till 2008. Baby, you're the best candidate. I like it when you get hot on Hillary in debate. Won't you pick up your phone? 'Cause I got a crush on Obama.